Hey there, my dear viewer. This channel is all about sharing meaningful advice to help you deal with anxiety. And if you feel like it, just let these calming landscapes in the background soothe your mind. To top it off, there's also some peaceful music playing. Let's begin. But what if I told you that your anxiety isn't a flaw to be eliminated, but a forgotten signal from deep within your unconscious? Carl Jung believed that anxiety often emerges when the shadow, the hidden, repressed parts of our psyche, tries to speak. In this video, we'll explore how understanding that shadow can transform your anxiety from something that haunts you into something that guides you. Everyone feels it, that tightness in your chest, that sense of dread when there's no real danger, that racing mind that won't let you sleep. Most people try to run from anxiety, burying it under productivity, distractions, or even medication. But Jung believed this was a mistake. Because anxiety isn't just a glitch in your brain, it's a messenger. And like any messenger, it only grows louder the more you ignore it. It doesn't want to break you, it wants to break your illusion. The illusion that you are fine, that nothing is wrong, that your life is aligned, when in truth, something inside you is desperate to be heard. Think about it. Anxiety often strikes hardest when you're not listening to yourself, when you betray your needs to please others, when you say yes to what drains you, when you silence your gut to maintain appearances. Jung taught that the psyche is not just a mind, it's a system of balance. And when parts of you go unacknowledged, your anger, your sadness, your fear, they don't vanish. They fester, they morph, and eventually they knock on the door disguised as anxiety. But if you open that door, you won't just find symptoms, you'll find truth. Carl Jung didn't view anxiety as an enemy. He saw it as a threshold, a psychological doorway that appears when your conscious life is out of sync with your unconscious needs. Most people live disconnected from their inner world. They chase careers, relationships, and social validation that look good on the outside but feel hollow on the inside. And then the anxiety creeps in, not as punishment, but as a signal. A signal that the mask you wear is no longer bearable. A signal that the life you've constructed is no longer livable. In Jung's language, anxiety often comes from the shadow, the part of you you've rejected, repressed, or denied. Maybe you were taught that anger is bad, so you suppressed it. Or that you should always be strong, so you hide your vulnerability. But these parts don't die, they go underground, and from there they begin to leak into your everyday life. They speak in symptoms, in discomfort, in irrational fears, until you listen. Jung believed that healing begins not by running from the shadow, but by confronting it, by recognizing that your anxiety is your shadow, trying to return home. What does this look like in real life? It's the successful person who has panic attacks at night, the social butterfly who feels empty in every room, the high achiever whose chest tightens when left alone. On the surface, they're thriving, but inside, something vital is missing. Jung would say this is the price of ignoring the inner voice. When your ego builds a life based on external ideals, fame, wealth, admiration, but neglects the self, your psyche revolts. Anxiety isn't the flaw, it's the rebellion. Jung's solution wasn't simple. He didn't offer a quick fix or a 5-step plan. Instead, he called for individuation, a lifelong journey of becoming whole. That means integrating your shadow, owning your pain, facing your fears, not with force, but with compassion. Because once you meet your anxiety, not as an enemy, but as a guide, it changes shape. It becomes a compass. It points you toward the parts of you you've abandoned and shows you how to reclaim them. Most modern treatments for anxiety are aimed at suppression, medication, distraction, avoidance. But Jung's approach was different. He believed in transformation. You don't silence anxiety by numbing it, you silence it by decoding it. You sit with it. You ask it what it wants, and usually it wants to be seen, to be felt, to be heard. Because deep down, anxiety is just a message from your soul saying you are not living in truth. And the moment you begin to listen, you begin to heal. Carl Jung didn't just study anxiety as a clinical symptom, he saw it as a profound existential signal. In his view, the modern human being suffers not merely from external pressures, but from a deep internal split, a fracture between who we are and who we pretend to be. Jung called this fracture the divided self. When we live only in the light, only in the persona we present to the world, we lose contact with the darker, hidden parts of our soul. And that disconnection festers until it erupts in the form of anxiety. Jung taught that every person carries a shadow composed of all the traits we've disowned, our fears, rage, shame, desires, traumas. And here's the paradox: the more you deny the shadow, the more power it gains over you. It becomes a ghost that haunts your daily life. The fear you can't explain, the tension you can't shake, the dreams that disturb you. Jung believed that until we turn inward and meet that shadow face to face, anxiety will never truly leave, because the shadow doesn't disappear, it waits. This is where Jung's work diverges from most modern psychology. He didn't want to fix people in the conventional sense. He wanted them to become whole. And wholeness, for Jung, comes not through control, but through integration. He believed that anxiety points toward the very thing we need to embrace. A man afraid of failure might be ignoring his inner risk-taker. A woman gripped by insecurity may be suppressing her authentic voice. The anxiety, then, is the soul demanding a reunion with its missing pieces. In his book, Modern Man in Search of a Soul, Jung wrote that neurosis, which includes anxiety, is often the result of a life devoid of meaning. The modern world has disconnected us from myth, ritual, and inner purpose. And when our lives lose symbolic depth, anxiety rushes in to fill the void. Jung didn't say we should go back to religion, but he did insist we need something transcendent, something that connects us to the eternal. Without that, we spiral in anxiety because the ego alone cannot carry the weight of existence. Jung's deepest contribution was this: your anxiety is not random, it's archetypal. It's the soul's way of demanding attention, and unless you heed the message, it will only grow louder. This is not meant to scare you, but to awaken you, because in Jung's vision, the path out of anxiety isn't escape, it's evolution. You must evolve into the person your anxiety is pointing you toward. And in doing so, you don't just heal, you transform. What if your anxiety wasn't just a malfunction, but a map? What if it was trying to lead you somewhere you've been avoiding your entire life? Jung believed that anxiety appears when the unconscious is trying to bring something to the surface, something crucial, something long repressed. It's not there to destroy you, it's there to summon you, but most people run from it, they numb it, they silence it, and in doing so they miss the call. Let's imagine something. You wake up with that familiar tightness in your chest, the weight that says something's wrong. Instead of drowning it with distractions, you pause, you listen. What is this feeling really about? Is it loneliness? Is it regret? Is it the fear that your life is not aligned with who you really are? Jung would say, follow that thread, pull it, let it guide you inward, because what terrifies you often holds your transformation. Here's where it gets deeper. Jung believed that anxiety intensifies when the ego resists the individuation process, the natural evolution toward becoming your full self. So when you feel anxious, it's often because a part of you is trying to grow, to expand, to break free from limitation. But the ego clings to safety, to routine, to identity. The clash between these forces creates friction. And that friction, it feels like anxiety, but it's really momentum. Jung also warned that unresolved anxiety would manifest in symbols, through dreams, obsessions, even physical symptoms. He called this symbolic compensation. So if you don't consciously listen to your soul, it will speak through the unconscious instead. That dream of being chased, that sinking feeling you get in crowds, that pattern you can't escape in relationships, it's all language, and anxiety is its loudest dialect. And here's the haunting truth: anxiety often hides your most sacred truths. That thing you're scared to admit, that emotion you buried years ago, that dream you abandoned, they're still alive, and they want your attention. Jung knew this all too well. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your anxiety is not fate. It's an invitation, a coded message from the soul. The question is, will you answer? Anxiety doesn't just affect your thoughts, it distorts your reality. It twists your perception, makes you see threats where there are none, and blinds you to your own power. Jung believed that when a person is overwhelmed by unconscious material, they begin to project it onto the world. So that fear you feel about others judging you, it might not be about them at all. It might be the part of yourself you haven't accepted yet, staring back at you through the eyes of strangers. The danger here is subtle. Anxiety convinces you that avoidance is safety. It tricks you into shrinking your world, saying no to invitations, numbing your feelings and hiding your truth. And each time you do that, your unconscious grows louder. Jung said that the shadow becomes destructive not because it's evil, but because it's ignored. Your anxiety isn't asking you to shut down, it's asking you to wake up. When you begin to face what you fear, the transformation is quiet, but seismic. That moment when you breathe into a panic attack instead of fighting it, that's where integration begins. That's when the unconscious realizes I'm being heard. And slowly, something shifts. The fear doesn't vanish overnight, but it loses its grip. Because now you're not running, you're listening. And this is where the paradox lies. The more you confront your anxiety, the less control it has over you. Not because you've killed it, but because you've befriended it. Jung didn't want people to destroy their demons. He wanted them to understand them, speak with them, learn from them, because within every inner monster lies a wounded part of you that wants to be seen. The anxiety is just its voice, raw, shaky, but honest. Remember, anxiety may be a symptom, but it's also a signal. A flare shot from the deeper parts of your psyche saying, there's more to you than this. If you dare to sit with it, without judgment, without escape, you begin the real work of healing. Not the surface kind, but the kind that rewires your being from the inside out. And that's the work Jung devoted his life to. The work of turning suffering into meaning. Most people try to silence anxiety like it's an enemy. But Carl Jung taught us something radical. What you resist doesn't go away, it grows stronger. And what you embrace begins to transform. The path to inner peace doesn't start with medication or distraction. It starts with awareness, with sitting in silence and asking, what is this really about? Not as a victim, but as a witness to your own evolution. When you begin to see anxiety as a messenger, not a curse, your relationship to it changes. You're no longer drowning in fear, you're learning its language. You realize that the racing heart, the overthinking, the tension, they're not random. They're breadcrumbs leading back to the part of you that's been unheard for too long. And once you follow that trail, you don't just find relief, you find yourself. So next time anxiety whispers that something's wrong, don't silence it. Listen, breathe, go deeper, Maybe it's not trying to scare you. Maybe it's trying to guide you. Because inside the shadow is a forgotten truth that you are more than your fears. You are the one who can face them, and in doing so, become whole.